Welcome to Dominate Your Day, the podcast for corporate leaders, visionaries, and founders who are ready to lead from within. I'm Dana Williams, and after 25 years as a corporate leader myself, I've discovered a powerful truth. The next level of your leadership isn't about more doing, it's about more being. Today, you'll hear from a difference maker who's learned that everything they needed to transform their team and their organization was already within them. They've stopped chasing external validation and started leading from their authentic strengths, their purpose, and their values. This is what I call the internal revolution. And it is exactly what I dive deep into in my upcoming book, Internal Revolution. Lead authentically and build your personal brand from within. So let's get started and dive right in. Welcome. Well, today's guest is Jeff Hancher. Jeff and I had such a great conversation. He's written a book called Firm Feedback. I love this, in a fragile world. And he's so true. I mean, this is so powerful. His message comes from 25 years of leadership and then having his own business now for 5 years. Jeff has this deep heart and deep caring concern for others, but also making sure that leaders learn how to give firm feedback without hurting relationship. Not only is he an author, he's a leadership trainer, he's a keynote speaker, and he has his own podcast. And he is a U.S. Army veteran. Welcome to the show, Jeff Hancher. So welcome to Dominate Your Day. Today I'm with Jeff Hancher. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Dana, great to be with you and great to be with every listener. Obviously, if you're listening to this show, you want to get better, you want to improve and make big impact. So I feel like I'm with my people. So thank you, Dana.
Well, thank you. I love your energy, Jeff. We had a little bit of talk in the green room just about authenticity and living your authentic life. And I love your story about how you talked about starting as a truck driver for Cintas and then moving all your way up. And now you have your own business. I think we both share that. We've both been in business about 5 years. And I look back and I go, whoa, how did this happen? And it went by so fast. And
Yes.
I think there's nothing like being a corporate, like we both have been, and then stepping out and doing something like this. You stepped out right during the middle of COVID or right before COVID, right?
Just before the world went wild, I jumped out December of 2019. And my
Wow.
gosh, who knew what was coming, right?
So how did that happen, Jeff? How did you say, here you are in this very successful corporate role, and then you said, no, there's something else calling me. What was that, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so man, that was the hardest business decision I ever made, was to leave Cintas, because I absolutely loved that company. This is a company that took a entry-level blue-collar worker and groomed me into a senior leader in the company. So tons of gratitude, a lot of upside left in my career, I believe. So I wasn't running from something. I loved it there. What had happened was in January of 2019, I was having lunch with my pastor. And he said, man, you should really start a podcast. Fun fact, I had never listened to a podcast before my first episode.
Oh, how funny.
And so I'm inquiring on what is this? And I'm like, I don't know if I have time. You know how the corporate life is. I'm on, in and out of airports and hotels, and I don't have time for this little side hobby thing. But he's like, no, I really think you should do it. And what I thought was like a pay it forward moment to serve maybe some local leaders in my community ended up being a podcast that started reaching across the country and then across the world. And then people are inquiring on my LinkedIn. I didn't have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I just had LinkedIn to help recruit top talent. And people were messaging me about, do you do training? And do you do coaching? And do you do consulting? And I said, no, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. Until one day I said, let's have a conversation. And I started doing this kind of on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Dana, I became so fulfilled doing this. I felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. But I was scared to death. I have an unvested stock portfolio. I have upside. I still battle a poverty mentality from my childhood. What are you thinking? I literally passed out on a commercial flight coming from Atlanta on Southwest Airlines, actually, and passed out in the aisle, had a seizure,
Oh my God.
and they were going to land the plane on an emergency. And I'm like, no, I think I feel much better. Here it was all stress related. You know, I was scared to death, but December of 2019, I made the leap. And I believe what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to do. Comes with a lot of challenges. As you well know, building a company is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
But I love serving people. Leadership is such a big part of my life. You know, to take a guy like me at the hand of some amazing leaders and develop a guy that didn't even know how to tie a tie and didn't know what a collar stay was. I have so much gratitude for leadership, and now I want to give leaders the tools that help transform me so they can transform the lives of other people.
So here we are. Is it 25 years later from that time you drove that truck to here we are now? Is it about 25 or
It
was
would
it
be about 30 years now,
30 years?
actually.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I
And
started
you're
when I was 15, if you're doing the
yeah,
math.
okay. So really leading this enterprise that you call Jeff Hancher Enterprise, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And leading working with corporate leaders, you've written a book. What do you think it was that your pastor saw that you didn't see in yourself in that moment in time? That were you already speaking a lot? Were you already doing some training? Or was it this passion you had for helping others and helping leaders that he saw? What do you think it
Yeah, I
was?
think, keep in mind when I met him, I was just starting my first venture as an outside salesperson. And then I get promoted into leadership, and then I get promoted again and promoted. So he's seeing this from a distance, right? And a couple years prior to that, he asked me if I'd be willing to do some what we called lead seminars. And I'm
Mhm.
like, absolutely. Like, this is what I love doing this. And I think he saw the gifting, right?
Mm,
And he was calling out the gifting.
mm,
And, meaning like, look, your gifting is bigger than how you're using it. And so here's a platform, Jeff, that you could literally reach places that your feet may never step. And what a great way to serve people. And I know that's your heart. And so it was through that conversation that I made time for it, because we'll always make time for what's important and what
mm,
adds value. And I made time for it. I'm grateful, for people in your life, like a pastor, a friend, a mentor that are calling out the things that maybe we take for granted and we don't see,
mm.
so that we can use our gift. Gifts are designed to serve people, right? Not just ourselves. They're designed to serve people, and ultimately, that's why I made the decision. It wasn't a money grab. I was doing fine.
Mm.
Uh, I gave up a lot, quite frankly, a lot of sacrifice to do this. But now I don't plan to be poor doing it. Make no mistake. But I want to serve people. Dana, when I leave this earth, I want people to be very sad that I'm gone and very happy I was here. And I think that's a life well lived.
When I look at your strengths, so on this show, sometimes we talk about people's Clifton strengths
Yeah.
because I do help leaders unlock those and then use this formula called authentic imprint, which helps them apply their strengths, their core values, their mission, their personal mission, and then times how they emotionally respond to things. And
Yeah.
that's who we are. That's our imprint.
Mm.
But when I look at your strengths, I see command, which is come in. You're the person that's going to empty the room when there's a fire. You're the
Yeah.
person that's going to. So, no doubt that you told me about this fun event you got to do where you kind of a Shark Tank where you promoted your book and you won. I and never had written a book before. It's that command.
Mm.
But it's also your self assurance that I see, and how you just got an internal compass, probably, that didn't
Mm.
make you afraid to get up in front of an audience and speak or speak
Mm.
truth. And then the significance, I want to leave a legacy.
Mm.
So I love how those are all showing up.
Mm.
But there's so many people who don't know their talents and they're living their life by default. And
Mm.
what I'm seeing in your story is that you're living your life by design now.
Mm.
So tell us about your book
Man,
and
the book.
how you came up with this book idea.
The book is a passion project, if you will, Dana. During that, keep in mind, I'm 3 months into building a company, and a pandemic hits the world.
Crazy.
Any clients that I did have quit because of budget, and I
Sure.
don't think I need this because the world's falling apart, and who needs a business coach at this point? We're all just trying to live through it, right? If you
Right.
remember the onset of that, it was pretty
Oh,
wild. So
oh,
I have
absolutely.
no revenue coming in. I have no clients. Prospecting was dead. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to be productive. And I remember sitting in my office for hours and hours thinking about what is the biggest problem that leaders face and how do I solve it? So I
Yeah.
went back into all of my years of succession planning notes when we would all, converge on corporate and look at all the leaders in our organization or aspiring leaders and determine who's ready for the next step, or what's holding them back. And I boiled it down, all of my years of notes, I boiled it down to two things that hold leaders back from their biggest potential. In no certain order: emotional intelligence and
Mhm.
lack of challenging leadership. And
Mm,
I felt like emotional intelligence had been talked about quite a bit,
right.
but this challenging leadership I felt was a big opportunity. And so I started to build a framework around the simplicity of how to do it. Simple, not easy. And I
Mhm.
built a 1 day workshop out of all of this research and my own personal experiences. And once we were back to work, if you will,
Mhm.
I launched this workshop to my local community here in the Pittsburgh area. And it sold out fast. And so
Wow.
I did another one, and it sold out fast. And I've sold out every workshop. Now I'm doing them inside of companies. And when I had this opportunity to think about a book, I'm like, why reinvent the wheel? Take
Mhm.
this workshop, make it into a book, and add all the grit and the stories and the blood and the sweat and the tears into the book that's going to be relatable to a leader to equip them to navigate these hard conversations that can literally impact somebody's life.
So if I'm a leader and I get your book and I'm trying to figure out what where I am in my leadership journey and what I'm doing to help get to grow, what are the takeaways you want them to take away after they've read your book?
I want leaders to understand that there's a difference between thinking about the risk of having a hard conversation and the risk of not having one. This is a mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
The book title is Firm Feedback in a Fragile World. Here's what we know: it's fragile. It's fragile. I mean, we got the likes of quiet quitting that's
Yeah.
costing the global economy $9 trillion a year.
Mhm.
We're coming through the great resignation where everybody's just jumping off the ship. It's harder to retain top talent. It's harder to attract top talent. We never want to rock the boat because if we rock the boat, people might quit. And we already have how many open requisitions, and we're understaffed. And by the way, if I have the conversation with Dana, she might cry, she might get mad, she might feel embarrassed. You know what? It's just not worth it. But here's what we know: if I were to ask you and everybody listening to think about your Mount Rushmore of leadership, these are four people that you would say, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am. Here's my question: were they tough on you? And the answer is always yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the follow up is, did they care deeply? And the
Mm-hmm.
answer is always yes. So what we know is it's possible. It's a simple framework of expectations, feedback, and accountability. I want to keep it simple so that literally, regardless of your leadership or personality type, passive, aggressive, assertive, whatever it is, this is a framework that, regardless of your tenure and regardless of your personality, you can execute it to make big impact in the lives of other people.
You know what's interesting? Two things are coming up for me. One is the number one thing we hear from employees and surveys that we do is that they're not clear on their expectations. Even
Mm-hmm.
when a leader has here, do you have any question? And
Mm-hmm.
it's that wanting to always look elsewhere for that what am I supposed to be doing? So that
That's right.
plays into this whole thing about feedback,
Mm-hmm.
that leaders aren't asking the question. It's that simple question to ask every week. Do you know what is expected of you this week? Is there anything I can do to help you?
That's right.
But so many leaders don't ask that question, and so many followers are stuck because they're not sure what their leader needs.
It's
And
so
so,
true.
how important it is for the leader to be able to be clear,
That's right.
clearing, but
Mm,
also be firm as you were talking about with that feedback.
yeah.
And then the other thing that's coming up right now is accountability. Why do you think, Jeff, there is this loss of accountability? I'm seeing it as another trend in the last 2 or 3 years, that's
Mhm.
what I'm hearing from clients, is that people don't want to be accountable.
Mm. Yeah, at the hand of accountability is a great leader, right? Now, here's the
Exactly.
thing: is like you have to earn the right to hold people accountable. Is how I say it. You
Hmm.
have to earn the right. When you have earned the right to hold people accountable, it's a lot less intimidating for the leader. Now, the leader that hasn't been equipped to do this, they're going to chalk it up at the dinner table at night saying, my team's crazy. These people are nuts. You're never going to believe what happened. Well, isn't that the greatest leadership opportunity? Is we get the opportunity to transform lives. But the key is making big deposits that earn you the right to have the tough conversation. And here's a simple analogy that will prove this. And Dana, you're a good sport. You'll be my role play
Okay.
person, okay? And you all know Dana even better than I know Dana because you're a listener. So stay with me. You know, let's just assume that Dana and we're going to a big trade show in Nashville to present our services. And we're going to be at the same booth together, and we're having a meeting about how we're going to show up and how we're going to add value, and we're perfecting our elevator pitches and how we're going to dress and how we're going to look and all of these things. And I say, Dana, when we're walking into that conference center, if there's anything that I see that could be holding you back from how you want to show up. For example, let's just say that you had too much coffee and not enough mints and your breath maybe wasn't minty fresh. Would you want me to let you know before we walk in there?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. You know what, Dana? I'm committed to doing that because I know how important your impact is on other people. And I also understand your heart around equipping people to be their best. And if smell it, see it, whatever, I'm committed to you and I'm going to do that. Well, let's fast forward 2 weeks. Dana and I are walking in. She's fresh off of a tall Starbucks. And I say, Dana, do you remember a couple weeks ago when we were in prep mode? You asked me to let you know. And I got to tell you, I smell some unfreshness coming from you, but, but which we all know that would never happen. But I
Right.
got good news, Dana. And I pull a mint out of my pocket and I hand it to you and you take it. What do you say to me after you take the mint from me?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Yes.
Now
Yes.
think about that. This is a hard conversation, and let me prove it to you. We're in a convenience store. We're in line. We just pumped gas and we're getting a beverage. And you're behind me, and it's the same data. I can smell it.
Hmm.
And we've never had a conversation. Matter of fact, I've never even met you before in my life, but I'm sensing the data here. So I
Hmm.
turn around to you and I say, ma'am, your breath stinks. Now I might get slapped.
Hmm.
I'm going to get a look for sure. I might even get, who are you to tell me?
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing, the information is the same. In one scenario, it's a really hard conversation, awkward. And you know what? I'm probably not even going to say anything for risk of what's about to happen. But in the other scenario, I'm thanked. You're grateful. What's the difference?
The
In one
permission.
scenario, I earned the right.
Yeah.
In the other one, I didn't. You know, so often leaders, they focus on what's right versus what's effective.
Hmm.
Going up to somebody and say, you're doing it wrong. You might be right, but are you effective? Have you really drilled into who this person is? Do they understand the expectation? Have they been trained and equipped to exceed or meet the expectation? Do they understand why meeting it is good for them, not the balance sheet? And have I met with them frequently to reiterate the expectation and give feedback towards their performance so that when the opportunity comes that I have to have the tough conversation, I deliver it and they say, thank you.
Mm.
We know this is possible. Just with that simple analogy, we know it's possible. That's what I want to equip leaders to have the confidence to have that tough conversation. It literally can be life changing.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I think so many, and even in a great environment, a great culture where people are afraid and they're having the meeting after the meeting because they're afraid to say what they need to say in the
Mhm.
meeting. But just asking that permission with your direct reports, with even your coworkers, your peers.
Mm,
Hey, I'm getting ready to produce. You just jot down some things that I can do better the next
mm,
time. And I
mm-hmm.
had a leader that did that. He always said, "Hey, I'm getting ready. Can you tell me? Can you just take a few notes and then just let me know afterwards?" And he was the leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was something. We even dressed him because he didn't have the right clothes for him. We had to gently say, I don't think I'd be wearing that if as your we had a code as your friend. I don't think I'd be wearing that to that
Yeah,
extent.
yeah, yeah.
Let me help you find what
Mm-hmm.
you need to wear. But it's those fun code words that you can develop or whatever, just to let them know this I
Oh yeah.
care about you and your brand and how you're coming across because I know who you really are and
Mm.
that's not who you really are. And
Man,
I'm
that's
working with
powerful, Dana. So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we have that friend that we can go up to and open up our lips and say, "Is there anything in my teeth?"
Oh yeah.
Because we
Uh-huh.
want to know, right? We
Yeah.
want to know. But I will tell you this, it transcends broccoli in the teeth or a little bit of bad odor. Because, look, I'm a product of this leadership, and now I'm giving this gift to other leaders, and I hope I modeled this in my leadership. But I can tell you this, when I started as an entry level person at Cintas Corporation, tough job, blue collar, picking up dirty clothes, sweat, dirt, the whole thing. I would see these people walking around the office and they dressed in really nice suits and ties and very shiny shoes. And they drove these really fancy cars. You probably heard of them. They're called Honda Accords. And I'm like, you know what? I want that life. And I finally get my break because I was winning some awards as a service driver. And I get my break in sales to find out I wasn't really that good at it. And I had a manager, his name was Sean, who he saw potential in me. He kind of knew a little bit about my background, but not all of it. He knew I came from humble beginnings, but he gave me a shot. And when I started to show decline, and I'm not really a natural talent, he would take me into the conference room and role play with me until we were both tired. He would jump in my car with me and go observe appointments. He would run appointments for me to observe. This is a guy that one day after we were having lunch stopped by a Joseph A. Bank and taught me how to dress like a
Mm,
professional. He took me into the men's room and taught me how to tie a Windsor knot in my tie. He told me what those little fancy plastic things were called collar stays that make your collar look really nice. He taught me things. He was making deposits beyond his job description, and I start winning and I start making commissions and I start hitting quarterly awards and I'm making my way towards pacing for President's Club, which is like the creme de la creme. And one morning I'm driving to my first appointment. I get a call from my dad, and my dad says, "You need to get to the hospital." My mom, who had lupus her since she was a child, was being rushed to the hospital. Now, sad story, um, but that story happened a lot. I got that call a lot in my lifetime. But I remember dad saying, "Jeff, it's different this time." And
mm,
I'm like, okay, not that you get numb to that, but I
right.
went to the hospital like I always did. And dad was right. It was different this day
Mm,
because this was going to be the day that I would hold my mom for the last minutes of her life. And Dana, when I tell you, I went into a very dark place. We were just looking at a house in a neighborhood for my mom and dad who were in a high rise, one
mm,
bedroom apartment. This is a couple that had to cut pills in half to get from copay to copay.
mm,
This is my why, right? As Simon Sinek tells us.
mhm.
And now I'm starting to get to a place that I can provide, and everything I was working so hard for, it was gone, and I was crushed. I went into a depression. I was showing up at work, but not really doing much. Had a little bit of an attitude, even. And one day, Sean pulled me into his office, Dana, and he said, "Enough's enough.
Mm,
My heart breaks that your mom is gone. But Jeff, I've spent hours in the car with you. I know your story. You have an 18-month-old son. You have an amazing wife. You want to have more kids. You have a dad that's disabled that needs you. And I'm not going to let you continue to throw this all away. But you have 24 hours to make a decision. You're either
mm,
going to show up tomorrow and you're going to be the person I know that you can be, or you're not going to be able to be on my team. But we're not going to keep doing this. Dana,
Wow.
I'm here to tell you, I could get emotional
Hmm.
thinking about 11 more promotions,
Wow.
building a life that I didn't even know was possible. And I often think back to that moment and I ask myself, if Sean would not have earned the right to have that tough conversation, would I even be who I am today?
Mm.
And leaders listening, I'm begging you. If
Hmm.
this doesn't come natural to you, learn this. Because is it good for business? You bet it is. Guess what? I hit president's clubs and hit 7 more of them.
Wow.
It's great for business, but I'm going to tell you, we are showing up to lead people. And when
Mm.
we can do that, we might make it to Mount Rushmore in
Mm.
somebody's life, and that transcends any business transaction that there is. And I don't know what's more fulfilling than that.
That's a chill story. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for even just showing that role model of Sean and how he was there for the good and the bad, and the
Mm,
hard in your hard times. I think so many times leaders are just they don't know how to have that conversation
mm.
because they're scared they're going to disrupt the apple cart with somebody that's already in
It's
a
so true.
depressive state. But we just went through the loss of all these little girls from Camp Mystic, and
Yeah.
our family was affected through friends and friends' daughters, and then my daughter was there at the camp. My granddaughter was there at the camp, and had come back 5 days before that flood. And one of the things that we heard, and we still got the green bows everywhere, all that, but one of the things we heard, Jeff, from the grief counselors and everybody is exactly what Sean said. You can't, we're going to talk about this, but then we're going to move on, and then we'll talk about it when you want to talk about it again, but we're not going to keep dwelling on it. And I thought that from a counselor, a grief counselor, that was so powerful, and it reminded me of that when you said that, what Sean said to you. But he just instinctively knew that
Mm,
and knew to tell you that.
mm.
uh, and I think so many leaders feel disqualified that they haven't gone through grief or they haven't gone through, but it's just understanding and helping somebody through that and walking with them through the fire.
Mm.
I always
Man,
say,
it's
you go through the bear hunt, going on a bear hunt. We don't go over it. We go through it.
mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I
It's
mean,
just
look,
so,
what you're saying is
yeah,
profound, isn't it?
it
Because
is.
when you were telling that story, and obviously our whole nation is mourning this, but that dad and mom, they're
Oh,
coming back to work,
yeah, they got
and
to.
you're leading them.
Yeah.
Somebody is leading them.
And
And
that,
look, that's an example, but here's what we know. There's people on your team right now that have a son that's battling opioid abuse. There's
mhm,
somebody on your team right now that they just heard that their mom has early dementia. There's somebody on your team right now that their wife is going in for a life-threatening surgery. This is the staff we're leading.
mhm,
This is it. It's fragile.
mhm,
But man, what an opportunity to lead. And look, there's leaders listening that's like, yeah, but that's not really me. I'm passive. I'm the person that when things go bad, I just buy a sheet cake
mhm,
and we bring in pinatas and we have little ponies that we ride around in the lawn. I just try to make people smile. You're not here to be their friend.
mhm.
You're here to lead them.
Right.
Aggressive leader. Hey, people step out of line. I just hit them as hard as I can to get them right back in. No, 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 no. Passive leader, you got to come up. Aggressive leader, you got to come down. There's something in assertive that says, I'm going to be very clear on the expectation. I'm going to equip you to exceed it. I'm going to earn the right through deposits and giving you time so that when the hard conversation has to happen, because it's never if, it's
Mhm.
only when, I can lean into that and make transformation.
I love
When
that.
I can do that, some amazing things can happen.
And if it hadn't been for Sean or for other people in your life, you wouldn't be where you are today. So
No, no
how do
question.
you I think that's something I think that I really like to talk to the leaders about is who is on your virtual board of directors? Who is it around your table that's there for you? that's going to speak truth to you, that's going to be, because your leader might not,
That's
um,
right.
other people. So finding that coach, finding that mentor, finding that,
Mm.
person that's going to come in and train, that help really stimulate. You might not have that person in your life that you can see that's role modeling that. So
Hmm.
where do you recommend to those people? Because I
Yeah,
mean,
there.
that's common right now. And we're in
Oh, it
a
is common.
hybrid, right?
Because there is people listening right now that's like, wow, it'd be nice to have a leader like that. Well,
Yeah.
that's no excuse for not growing, and there's no excuse. Look, you can learn a lot from a bad leader, and sometimes it's not even intentional, but we can go chase mentors. We
Mm.
can go chase people that can impact our life. Here's what we know. Two things will change who you become: what you consume and who you surround yourself with. Mentors have changed my life. I write about Dr. Bradley in the book. Somebody that helped me learn the art of leadership composure. I didn't report to him. He was a mentor. So then the question always comes up, well, how do I find these people? Well, look around your community. Look around your church, your social club, the country club. Look at fruit. And then when you find it, spark conversation.
Mm.
Ask somebody to coffee. When you're done with coffee or lunch, here's one question that has changed my life. Me and you are done with coffee. I took 5 pages of notes, Dana. I'm telling you a little bit about my story, where I want to go, where my weaknesses are. I give you my 5 strengths, and I say this $1 million question. Dana, based off of the conversation we just had and the little bit that you know about me now, who do you know that I don't know that you would say I should probably meet?
Mm.
Next
Mhm.
thing, Dana was like, do you know John Doe? And I'm like, I've heard of him, but I've never met him. He owns Acme down the road, right? Yeah, man, this guy's great. Now, I mean, check this out, listener. Before we hit record, I'm just trying to get to know Dana a little bit. She's trying to get to know me. She has exciting news about some content she's going to be releasing soon. And I'm like, do you know Tim Elmore? Have you ever heard of this guy? Like, I can't help myself because I just know,
Right.
like, man, if
Yes.
you can get around people that have been where you're trying to go, that's going to transcend anything.
Mm.
That's the cheat code, right? So we got to
Yes.
push for that.
I love that. I love that. You're living your authentic self, and you're role modeling. You're living what you're role modeling,
Mm.
what you're preaching. So, as we get ready to close out, is there anything that you feel like this audience needs to hear from you that you didn't get to share with me today, that's coming up for you right now? Or it could be something from the book, or something from your lessons from leading and now as an entrepreneur. But is there anything just coming up for you right now that you want to make sure they take away as we think about feedback, and as we think about living authentically and sharing their true self with
Mm.
their folks?
Dana, as many times as I've told this story, and there's plenty more stories in the book, but as many times as I've told this story, just reflecting on it, I always get emotionally charged.
Mm.
And my message to the listener is simply this: the goal is not to be a boss people report to.
Mm.
The ultimate goal is to be a leader that people don't want to let down. Our
Mm.
Mount Rushmore
Mhm.
were people we didn't want to let down. That we're not here to drive compliance. We're here to drive engagement. We do that by earning the right. And so, would I like to sell you a book? Of course, I would love to sell you a book. But I'm begging you, whether it's going and getting the free content from my podcast, or buying the book, or the YouTube video, don't shy away from becoming a leader that sees these tough conversations as opportunities to transform. And what we know about leadership is it's learned. And so, regardless of your personality or your leadership style, this is learned. And so, I just want to challenge the listener, whether it's getting the book or messaging me or someone on our team, we're here to serve and we want to help. That's why we do what we do. So, and Dana, thank you for the platform to amplify my heart and the message behind it.
Well, thank you. And we'll put your information in the show notes. But if you want to tell folks how to find you right now or find your book,
Yeah.
feel free to do that.
Yeah, I'm easy to find. It's Jeff Hancher, like Jolly Rancher, but with an H. That is the website, Jeff Hancher. If you do buy a book, I would challenge you to go to firmfeedbackbook.com. You go to Amazon, you don't get free bonuses, but you get a book. If you go to firmfeedbackbook.com, we have all the free resources there, hundreds of dollars worth of free content We don't want this book to be a check in the box, Dana. We want this book to come with things that can equip you to win. There's a lot of free resources on there. You can become part of our firm feedback community where you can ask questions. As much as I can, I'm responding with videos to people of the toughest leadership questions that they're asking. So we would certainly love an opportunity to partner with you that way.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations
Thank you,
and
Dana.
thank you for transforming your life and now helping transform others. So I
Of course.
appreciate you being here. Enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Mhm. What an incredible conversation. Remember, everything you need to lead with greater impact is already within you. You don't need to be more productive. You just need to be more you. If today's episode resonated, please subscribe and share it with a fellow leader who's ready for their own internal revolution. And if you're ready to discover what's possible when you lead from the inside out, I'd love to create space for that conversation. Head to danawilliamsco.com for resources and to book your free discovery call, where we can explore what you want to achieve for yourself, your team, and your organization. Until next time, keep leading from within.